Dirty South Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Eric Lee and Lorenzo.
What's going on, Lo?
What's going on, E. Lee, in the place to be?
Everything's good. Everything is good.
Without a doubt, it's the LIT, the CIT, always on fire. I stay lit.
Yours truly, Eric Lee, in the house. And welcome to the Dirty South Fantasy Football Podcast, where we get a chance to talk fantasy football all year long, as well as regular football. And, of course, everybody knows we just came off of Divisional playoff weekend. And what a weekend it was.
Yes, it was a really big weekend. And I think I was 3 for 4. I think you were 4 for 4. In your predictions for all the games, right?
I wasn't too bad.
yeah, you were 4 for 4. You know, the other one I thought maybe, there was some destiny that was surrounding the Buffalo Bills because of what happened to Damar Hamlin, Right. So the spirit of me was saying, hey, I think they're destined for the Super Bowl because, what's happening with the team. That's how I was feeling. But my heart and my brain was like, oh, Cincinnati's going to win. You know what I'm saying? And being a Dolphin fan, right. I'm happy that Cincinnati won. You know what I mean? And we can get into that game too, because Cincinnati took a page out of some of the things that the Dolphins did to the Buffalo Bills on defense.
Yeah, it was a good weekend, and we can start right from the beginning. First game, it was the new kid, Trevor Lawrence, versus the old gun, my man Patrick Mahomes. Wasn't even close, man. It wasn't even close.
No. You can't say that game wasn't close.
What?
The final score was 27 to 20.
I thought they won by 10.
No, it was by a touchdown. They won by a touchdown. That game was close. I mean, and the theater on the drama of the game, because you wasn't sure whether or not Patrick Mahomes was going to return because of the ankle injury. So it was 7-7. I mean, it was 7-7 at one point. And then Kansas City kicked a field goal. And I think at the end of the half, they scored another touchdown. But Jacksonville came back. I mean, they made it a game because you were not sure how Patrick Mahomes was going to perform with that injured ankle.
Well, it was interesting to see that Chad Henne came in there and did well. The longest play
98 yards, 98 yard drive.
Yeah.
Yes, 98 yards. Yep. I know that because I am a Dolphin fan and he is a former Dolphin, and it always seems as if the former Dolphins always come back to haunt us. Like why couldn't we have Chad Henne as our backup quarterback against Buffalo? You know what I'm saying?
Dolphin John said blame it on he said blame it on Henne.
Yeah, blame it on Henne. Blame it on the Henne all day long. But Chad Henne came out and looked good. He ran. That was like the longest, like you said, one of the longest drives in Kansas City playoff history. And it was 98 yards after he got injured. Chad drove him down the field. So you're like, okay. But even in the second half, you saw Patrick Mahomes limping on the field, and you're wondering, will he make that mistake? So, you got to give it up to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they scored a touchdown late to make it a 7-point victory.
Yeah, that's
but
it was still were up by 14. I was like, hold on. Then I remember. You're right. It did come down at the last minute.
Yeah, but it still was, there was still some intrigue in that game. You kind of figured, that Kansas City was going to win. And I just have to say this to Cincinnati, if they want to win, you might as well just go ahead and double cover Travis Kelce. I don't know why teams choose to just go one-on-one against Travis Kelce. You can't do it. You have to double him. You got to bracket him. You got to find a way to get two people and let the other people beat you. Don't basically shut out Travis Kelce. If you're going to lose this game, you're going to lose because Juju Smith-Schuster or Pacheco or McKinnon, the running backs are the ones that hurt you. Not Kelce. You can't let him beat you.
And you know what? He's gonna look for single high safety. He knows what to do when Tampa 2. I mean, so they're well trained because you got 18 games in the regular season, nobody can stop them.
Right.
So
right.
They know what to do when they see the defense. And plus, they're the interesting thing about when we talk about Jacksonville, they're still a young team, but they're a good young team. Right. They're going to go up against a pretty stout Cincinnati defense when they see them this week. But we'll talk about that when it comes to the picks for this week. Let's go to the second game of the evening. And now this one wasn't close at all. We talk about the Giants and Philly.
Oh no, that was a blowout. I mean, Giants' first drive, they just act like they were a road map. I mean, they just laid down for Philadelphia. They just, Philadelphia just drove straight down the field, touchdown on the board, and then they got the turnover right for the second touchdown. So before you know it, it was 14-0 in the first quarter. And the Giants, I mean, they can't, and they don't have the offense to be able to come back from huge deficits. They don't have the ballers, so if they're not able to run the ball and control the clock and keep Philadelphia's offense off the field, it's going to be a hard time for them being able to, to win any game, because they don't have the ballers on offense that can make big plays, so they have to rely on Jones and have to rely on Barkley. And now going into the offseason, they're both free agents, or basically had decisions to be made in reference to their future with the New York Giants. So that's big. Once Philadelphia got about 14, you knew that game was over, because Giants weren't capable of coming back. Not against that Philadelphia defense.
And Danny Dimes looked like Danny Nichols, because he was not. He wasn't that good. He couldn't run that fast. So I mean, they finally ran into somebody that could compete with them. But at the same time, it's the NFC East. It's not like Philly doesn't know what the Giants do.
Right.
They
exactly.
play them twice a year.
Right.
It was interesting. Hold on, says the honeymoon is over. Dolphin Don said the honeymoon is over with Danny Dimes.
Yeah, it's over.
But the thing about it is, we know that, like I said, it's contract year, and he did okay. He got him into the playoffs.
Well, I mean, you got to give all the credit. Yeah,
either you pay him or you don't.
Yeah, you got to give him all the credit. I mean, you got to give the coach of the New York Giants, Brian Daboll, all the credit in the world. When he became available, he was definitely one of those head coaches that I thought that the Dolphins would look to try to bring in, because he did such a great job with Josh Allen in Buffalo. Right. But, he had his sights set on the New York Giants. So they really overachieved this year. But their success is based on their coach, and you got to give him all the credit in the world.
Oh, he did a great job. He did a great job. If you're checking us out, hit us with a like on Facebook. If you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscription button as well as the notification button. So every time we start this train, you will be notified and you'll be on live with us. Feel free to hit us up in the chat line and we'll shout you out. Hopefully you will do that. And please share. All right. Share. That's all.
And leave some comments so we can respond to those comments. Even not if we don't get to them while we're on live, we can still respond to them later on after we get off.
Absolutely. And let's go to Sunday. He a gangster. Oh God.
Yeah.
That is a gangster.
Yeah, man. I tell you, it always comes back to the Dolphins, right?
Joe Cool.
It always comes back to the Dolphins.
Joe Cool. But the thing about it is, we had already seen what they could potentially do in the game where DeMar Hamlin went down. The first series,
they drove down the field, put on 7, right?
Drove right down the field.
Right.
And I was talking to a couple of my guys at work, and they're like, well, they're going to have a full game. I said, look, Cincinnati not scared of Buffalo. We saw what they did. He said, well, Buffalo came back and they scored 3. I said, yeah, they struggled to score 3. Right. Cincinnati was real. Right. And we saw exactly how real they were. And what was funny about it, because like for folks that don't know, I live in Atlanta, and we all knew that if Buffalo won and Kansas City won, they were going to play
at a neutral site.
Wait,
so you wanted Buffalo to win, right?
Oh, look. It's gonna be 60 degrees in Atlanta this weekend.
Right.
The party was gonna be popping the whole weekend. But in Joe Burrow fashion, he said, well, I guess you're going to have to
get those refunds. Cocky.
You can't be mad at the swag, baby.
You got to love it. You got to love it. And then, earlier in the week, someone was asking him about, the window to win the Super Bowl. And he was like, as long as I'm here, there's a window that's open to win the Super Bowl for this team. It's yo, he's just so just cocky and confident, but he goes on the field and he backs it up.
Did you hear the quote when they asked him? He said, "So, how do you think the game's going to play out?" He said, "Well, when 2 of the greatest quarterbacks are on the field."
No, I missed that one.
Oh yeah. Joe ain't never short on a quote, baby.
Now this was, and he was talking about Patrick Mahomes, right?
He was talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Right,
That him and Patrick are the two greatest quarterbacks on the field. It should be a good game.
Wow.
Yeah.
And with Patrick being hobbled,
right.
If you really paid attention to what the front four of the Cincinnati Bengals and what they did to Josh Allen in that game is they did a lot of stunts, but they used not necessarily the linebackers to spy Josh. They kind of used the defensive tackles to spy him. And they kept him in the pocket. Now, the field, it's so funny. I saw a quote that because of the white uniforms, it played to the advantage of the Cincinnati Bengals because they had white while it was snowing. But I would think because the Bills had on blue, you could see it better, but the Bills fans will come up with an excuse. That's why when they played Miami that night, they wore bright red. So they could be seen. Exactly. So, but
they were in the color rush jerseys.
Right. But they used a little bit of the scheme that the Dolphins used against Buffalo because the Dolphins sacked Josh Allen 7 times the week before. So Cincinnati implied some of those same things, but their secondary is much better than Miami. So they were able to contain the wide receivers, and they kind of kept Josh Allen in the pocket. That's something that they would have to also be prepared for against Patrick Mahomes. But with this injury, he's going to be a stationary target. Yeah. And that is not good. Well, that is not good. He's going up against this defense of the Bengals.
He's gonna have to have the Tom Brady approach. Get it out your hands in 2.5 seconds.
Right.
You can't do a lot of running. Right. All right. So last game of the night. That boy, Mr. Irrelevant.
That was a good one.
Mr. Irrelevant is still relevant. I don't care what you say.
Purdy's just being Purdy. He's just putting him on there. He's just being Purdy. And it's amazing. It's amazing that there's so many teams out there in the NFL that have questions at quarterback, while San Francisco has 3. That they can put out there. And Trey Lance, look at the fact that they traded 3 number 1 draft choices to get Trey Lance, and he can't even get on the field.
Right.
And this team is in the championship game.
Yeah.
So
what's crazy is, that's a hell of a problem to have. Think about, is Jimmy G, Trey, and Purdy that good, or is the head coach that good?
But you got to give it up. Well,
you got to any one of them and put them in play. But
you got to look at the weapons as well.
Oh yeah.
The weapons are some of the best at their position. Yeah. When you look at Debo, when you look at Kittles, and you look at McCaffrey. They are basically in the top 5. In their position. Debo might be somewhere in the top 10. Right. When you're looking at wide receivers, but when you have that type of talent on the field. All you need is a game manager just to manage the game and get the ball in their hands so they can make plays and don't make mistakes. Purdy's not right. And he's not making mistakes. And I think Stephen A said it best. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. No, it was yesterday when he was talking about in comparison to Dak. It's like Purdy was the last draft pick, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
And Dak Prescott lost to
Mr.
a 3rd string rookie, while Dak is getting paid $92 million over the last 2 years. Hey. Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant.
Hey man,
and that's what hurts Cowboy fans.
But Purdy did that to a lot of people though. So I'm not just gonna stick it to.
You got to stick it to him. You got to stick because when you look,
he did it to everybody though.
Not everybody. He's won each and every game, but did every quarterback? I'd have to go back and look at the games. Did every quarterback, throw interceptions, have turnovers, and he hasn't had too many. Maybe he's had 3 or 4 interceptions during these 8 games that he's won. So. But when you have a defense like San Francisco that causes turnovers, that's why you could be in the position to where all he has to do is manage the game.
Yeah, like you said, when they get a turnover on the other side on the competitor side, you first and 10 on the competitor's 22. Oh yeah,
Right.
we gonna bring it in. We're gonna
Right.
get it
Right.
in.
Right. Right.
And speaking of Dak, that dude, man. Look, I am one of the biggest Cowboy haters
Haters.
around.
Right.
I'm one of the biggest Cowboy haters. But when your own team does this,
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
when your
Terrible.
own team does this,
Terrible.
I hate to hate. These guys are employed by Jerry, and evidently
Right.
they handle the social media account.
And Jerry approved it. He
And
had to
Jerry
know.
had to approve it.
He had to do it, else it would have come down, or they would have deleted it by now. So,
they big mad.
But Dak is Dak, and that's the problem with Cowboy fans. They beat Tampa Bay, and they celebrated that game.
Like
They just won the game, and the way they won the game, they felt like they had just beat the Buccaneers the way that they beat the Vikings.
Right.
And the Vikings, you saw what, who else beat the Vikings badly? The Giants. You saw what the Giants did to the Vikings.
Yeah.
And we should have beaten the Vikings when we played them. So the Vikings have been a fraud. So for you to celebrate as if you won the Super Bowl after you beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, that's how they got on their high, and they thought they were going to be able to keep that type of play or maintain that high execution of play going into San Francisco, and it's a different animal.
And Jerry said that turnovers aren't in Dak's DNA after the Tampa Bay game. Well, evidently, his DNA changed in 6 days.
But look at how many games did he miss? He missed 5 games, right? But yet and still he led the NFL in interceptions. That's terrible. And then I think he was tied with someone else. But then if you add these two with the playoffs, he leads the NFL in interceptions. So there's a problem there. There's a disconnect. But the Cowboys need more talent. They can't. There's not a lot of depth there.
They were missing Gallup this year. They were missing Gallup.
He played on Sunday, right? He was out there.
I'm sorry, not Gallup. What's my man? Amari Cooper.
But he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about. They were missing him because now you can double up.
And that's Jerry's fault because you didn't replace him.
Yeah.
And you thought T.Y. Hilton was going to be the person. Did T.Y. get on the field?
Yeah, T.Y. came in the last 3 weeks. So
I'm like,
Jerry didn't want to pay Cooper what Cooper was going to get. So I get it. It was financial because all your money tied up in Dak and Zeke and poor Zeke. I even felt bad for Zeke because he just doesn't have it anymore. It's a quote out right now. He said he would like to be back with the Cowboys, but he don't know what he's going to do.
But just think about the last play that we saw from Ezekiel Elliott this year.
He was
playing center and getting ran over
right
by a linebacker. That if this is the last game for Zeke as a Cowboy, we will remember that as the last time we saw him.
Yeah.
And this game, we will remember this game.
Yeah, and he wasn't very impressive this year. And what's crazy is that Tony Pollard, he's on a contract year and he broke his leg.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, but then that's when you have to have depth.
Yeah.
Where's your third string and fourth string running back? So those are some of the things that, the Dallas Cowboys can come up and play on such a high and play great. And then sometimes they play down to the level of their competition.
Right.
But
one thing I got to give it to them, their defense.
Oh, the defense balled out. No, the defense did ball out.
They kept them down to 20 points, 19
And the
points.
fact that they balled out and they demonstrated their speed on grass.
Right.
Because that was one of the things you were looking at. I said, okay, they play well on turf, but how's that going to translate onto grass? And Dallas did a good job against, Mr. Irrelevant.
Right.
So
because he made everybody look bad for the last 7 weeks. But Dallas did what they were supposed to, and Dan Quinn might get another head coaching job behind it.
Did he really make everyone look bad, or was it just, the defensive play and he executed? There was some games where he did well, but he wasn't performing like a Pro Bowler. You see what I'm saying? So,
Right.
there were questions how he would perform against the Cowboys,
I think he's going.
defense.
I think he's going to get the test of his life this weekend. Matter of fact, let's talk about this weekend.
Yeah.
First game up will be Dallas versus. I mean, not Dallas. I'm sorry, Philly versus San Francisco. What you got? I'm taking Philly.
Yeah, I'm going with Philly as well.
I'm taking Philly,
and I think the stat that I saw, Philly's pressures and sacks.
Oh yeah,
they lead the NFL in sacks and pressures.
5.
Yeah, and it was something, and it was compared to the 85 and 84 Bears. Yeah, that's the stat that jumped out at me when I saw that. I was like, wow. So that means they are consistently putting pressure on the quarterback, and I just think that this may be the game that Purdy has some problems, maybe reading or dissecting the Philadelphia Eagles defense, because that defense is, as good. I'm gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself. He does play the 49 defense in practice every day. So he does see a good defense, but I think they may be able to come up with some things, and it's on the road and it's in Philadelphia. So I definitely have to give the advantage to the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jalen Hurts played Sunday or Saturday, whenever they played, Saturday, as if he was really healthy, like he's healthy.
Yeah.
So when you get him, when you saw him running on those early downs in the first quarter, you're like, oh, they're letting you know he's fully healthy and they're going to play his game.
And you think about, you've got A. Brown and you've got what's Singletary? What's the running back in the backfield? Backfield for
Philip Sanders.
Sanders. And the Heisman Trophy winner. Oh yeah. They got weapons all day. Devontae.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time, when we're talking about Philly, it could be windy, it could be cold. You talk about a West Coast team coming to the East Coast, playing in the cold. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
And Purdy's going to see another top 5 defense in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
He just had Dallas. They just couldn't score any points on San Francisco. Philly might be able to put some points up against San Francisco because they got a solid offensive line. They got weapons on both sides, on both wide receivers, the tight end, running back. They're just as solid from the offensive side as San Francisco is. So it's gonna be a nice little move out there.
And we'll have to see whether or not these injuries to the San Francisco backfield are serious. McCaffrey, they're going to play. They're going to play, but how much will, because the Cowboys kind of locked down McCaffrey early on in the game.
Yeah, he didn't have much.
They did a great, he didn't do much. And then in the second half, they kind of wore the Cowboy defense down. So we don't know whether or not it was because of the Cowboys or was it because of that strain. I think it's an ankle or leg injury that he's dealing with. And then Elijah Mitchell is dealing with an injury as well. And you can definitely, he may make some type of bonehead play because he doesn't know how to run out of bounds to keep the clock running. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, believe me. They were probably on hitting the clicker at the film. Okay, you see right there? Stay in.
This is where you go down.
This is where you go down.
You don't run out of bounds, That game could have been over at that point, and he continued to run the ball. So those are the only things that I think that San Francisco really has. The Philly will have to worry about, but it'll be interesting to see whether or not those guys will be fully healthy. And unfortunate, that's the same thing with the AFC game that we have because Patrick Mahomes is, he's going to be dealing with the ankle as well.
Okay, so let's just say, for its and giggles, that San Fran wins the game and goes to the bowl. They said Jimmy G could be available during the Super Bowl to be the backup.
He ain't playing.
He's not playing.
No, he's not playing. He's not playing. It's all Purdy. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I wouldn't make that. He hasn't played.
Right.
Has he practiced? I wouldn't make that change at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it always comes back to the Dolphins. That's what happened in 1972 during their perfect season. Bob Greasy broke his leg, and then Earl Morrall took over the team and led them into the playoffs. And then Greasy came back and quarterbacked the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl, and they won 14-7 and were perfect 17-0. Always comes back to the Dolphins.
But you remember the Pittsburgh Steelers did the same thing. I can't think of the brother's name. Played all season, and when it got to the playoffs, they put Terry Bradshaw in.
Was it a
Joe
brother?
Gilliam?
Joe Gilliam was a brother. Yeah, Joe Gilliam.
Yeah, he played the whole season.
Yeah,
and when it came to the playoffs,
I don't know if he played the whole season though.
Half the season. You could
have to check that out. Maybe half the season. I don't know
about
half
the season.
And we don't see enough. We don't see enough highlights of Joe Gilliam.
Right.
You know, to say that he played the entire season. But we know Terry. I do know Terry did get hurt, and he played a few games. You know, so
yeah. Joe Gilliam.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, man. Just pulled him up. And so we know that. Well, we assume that Philly's going to win.
We're not on the radio. That's not. We felt that was dead air, didn't we?
Yeah. We felt that, baby. We felt that. You felt that.
That pause was like uh-oh. What's next?
Yeah.
We got to fill this. No, we don't. You can pause and just wait a second, look at the camera. Keep on going. But we're from radio, so as soon as that was the longest pause we've had as long as we've been on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so funny. We both react like, uh-oh, somebody got to say something.
So, the last game, the big game, sweet Joe Burrow up against Patrick Mahomes. Right now, they say it's a 50-50 game. The line is 50-50. They say it's a pick 'em. I think, you know what? I'm rooting for Mahomes, but I think Cincinnati, first and foremost, they're not scared of him. Not scared.
Oh, not at all. Joe was beating him 3 times in a row. Right. So that Cincinnati Bengals defense. I mean, when you look at the tape of what they did to Josh Allen and how they blitzed him from different angles. And Kansas City is going to have to really be prepared for those blitzes. And the fact that Mahomes is not going to have the ability to scramble and extend plays like he normally does because of the injury. I mean, he's had a hard time beating him healthy the last 3 times.
Yeah.
So they're going in there really confident talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I mean, if I were a betting man, and since we do have to pick a team, I'm picking Cincinnati.
I'm picking Cincinnati.
I'm looking at a Cincinnati-Philadelphia Super Bowl.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Mahomes had a little magic and they pulled it out, because, I mean, they are at home, but I don't think that Kansas City's defense is scary enough to hold Joe Burrow.
Those three wide receivers they got, man.
Yeah. You got Chase, you got T. Higgins, you got Mixon in the backfield. Yeah, it's Hayden Hurst at tight end.
The key to a Kansas City win will be, and I think that I thought this was going to be a problem in Buffalo, and the snow may have helped Cincinnati because it was able to slow down the Buffalo Bill pass rush because of the snow on the ground, and Cincinnati having those 3 backup offensive linemen in the game.
Right.
Now, if if Cincinnati still has those 3 backup linemen in the game and Kansas City is able to expose them the way Buffalo was not able to, that can make it quite difficult for Cincinnati. But then again, last year when they made it to the Super Bowl, they had a banged up offensive line. So Burrow is so good, and they just basically they call their plays talking about Cincinnati based on the packages that you set up. So if they see you're playing a certain package, they've got a certain package of plays to attack this package, and Burrow will change it at the line of scrimmage. I said, okay, you want to play that? All right, we're going to go ahead and run this package. Where you don't see a lot of teams like that with young quarterbacks.
Right. Well, we've seen that Joe is years beyond what most NFL quarterbacks are in his third year.
Right.
He's pretty good.
Really his second year, because he only played, he got hurt in his first year. So it's really 2 full years, or 2.5 years. So,
well, it's hopefully we get to see some of the shenanigans that Kansas City, like the ring around the rosy huddle, and when they split out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. They don't need to be playing. No, they don't need to be playing no games. No, they don't need to do that. Don't. I mean, don't egg them on. Don't do that. Don't do that, because Cincinnati will come back and embarrass you, in some kind of way, But we're on Miami sports music, right?
Yeah.
Right. So and I don't think people are aware of how much it really hurts Miami Dolphin fans to see Joe Burrow in his position, because there was a game where we were playing Cincinnati when Brian Flores was the coach.
Right.
And, I think the game went into overtime. And that game, had we lost that game and maybe a couple of others, we would have been able to draft Joe Burrow. So it really it pains us to see him succeed, because Brian Flores wanted to win those games. And then, yes, it also pains us to see Herbert out there as well.
I was going to say, because we
could have had him. But it only pains us this much because we have to deal with the concussion situations with Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah. And can he stay healthy?
Because when Tua's healthy, y'all a problem when he's healthy.
Yeah, but the problem is, can he stay healthy? And every year since going back to Alabama, he's been dealing with injuries. Yeah. And if you look at the top 3 quarterbacks in the AFC, Josh Allen played every game, Joe Burrow played every game, and Patrick Mahomes didn't get injured until the playoff game.
Right.
So you got to have your main quarterback play every single play. That's why I think Tom Brady's coming to the Miami Dolphins.
Well, they say he's he's in South Florida now visiting his kids.
Got a house there.
Yeah, and the rumor right now about Aaron Rodgers talking about going to the Raiders. Can you imagine him getting back with Devontae Adams?
I know, right? I know. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. But what people have to remember is that the Dolphins lost a draft choice because they were tampering with Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's
Tom Brady's deal. Right. And Tom Brady's a Michigan guy. Stephen Ross is a Michigan guy. They know each other. They're friends. And prior to that, I can't remember the other guy's name, but Tom Brady had a friend that was supposed to go. He was talking to Stephen Ross about ownership. Right. They had a falling out. So that fell apart. But basically, if Tom comes with anyone that got some money, he can now get with Stephen Ross and he can bring back those conversations about ownership again. So whatever they were talking about before when they were trying to bring in Tom Brady, they can bring that up again. Of course, what's his name? Chris Greer. They didn't say anything about that, but Tom Brady was playing that Monday night when they had the press conference. So, of course, they're not going to say anything in reference to Tom Brady when he's getting ready to play that night, because they did lose a draft choice. So I don't think he's a free agent until after March 1st. So you might not hear anything about Tom Brady to the Dolphins officially from the Dolphins until he's officially a free agent. But he could come. They could compete.
Do you really want Tom to see New England's defense twice?
Yes.
The Jets defense twice. Buffalo's defense twice. He was in the NFC South. There was no defense, so he wasn't getting hit. He gonna see a whole lot of the ground in the AFC East.
That was probably
South.
I mean, Dallas's defense is good, right?
But right? I'm talking about he played.
No. First, yeah. But everyone just has this vision of the last game that Tom Brady played, but he played good games throughout the season. He had good stats throughout the season. So now with Tua Tagovailoa's situation, Tua Tagovailoa might start. Tom Brady might be a player coach. You don't know what agreement. You don't know that. You don't know that if he has some ownership in the team.
Man, I don't know if he
you don't know that.
Anybody checking this out believe that Tom gonna come to sit on the bench?
Or he might be the starter. So if he chooses to maybe retire, which he may feel like he wants to do, but he has a situation where he can be a coach and help out Mike McDaniel and also be on the sideline, or also be in, I don't know what the rules and the laws are in reference to how you can be and, have an ownership in the team or a player, what have you. But trust me, if something can be done, Stephen Ross is going to entertain it. Okay. And he's going to pitch something to Tom Brady, and Tom Brady, he may be the starter because you never know. Tua might come out there. All somebody got to do is push him down. And he bumps his head. That's it. It could be over him for him, just that simple. So whoever is under center at the start of the season, I don't care, but we're going to need some insurance just in case Tua gets hurt. And I'd rather have Tom Brady as that insurance, or Tom Brady starts, and if Tom Brady gets hurt, then you have Tua. Because with those weapons, just imagine, and you go ahead and you sign some type of back catching the back out of the backfield. You know what I mean? Improve the offense. Pick somebody else in the offense. I mean, New England's defense. We just remember Tom in that last game against the Cowboys, but he didn't play like that all season long. And he didn't have a Jalen Waddle and a Tyreek Hill to throw to either.
Right. Well, I mean,
I'm not saying their wide receivers.
I was going to say
they didn't.
His wide receivers didn't suck,
but they don't have the speed, and he still has that arm.
Okay. So
therefore, with that arm and that speed, those safeties are playing further back. Those linebackers are playing further back.
I don't know, man. I watched.
I know we don't know, but you say about an option, and you got to remember he built that house down here. He and his wife was supposed to be in Miami because they were meeting with the Dolphins. So there's so much more to the story that we probably don't even know. Right. And now that story can be revisited, and the Dolphins don't have to give up anything to bring him on board. And Stephen Ross is going to be like, okay, Tom, what do you want? What do you want to do?
Well, we know he got a $300 to $400 million deal with the network just to broadcast.
But he may want to play.
Yeah, we'll see.
And he may not want to be in training camp 46. The way you know how he was about training camp. So it's okay. We got Tua. I'd rather go in with two good quarterbacks than just one quarterback that is a concussion away from being out for 4 or 5 games.
All right. How does salary cap look like?
Oh, we can. Chris Greer, I trust him to maneuver that salary cap. If anybody can maneuver it, you just go ahead. You call Rosenhaus. Call up Rosenhaus. Say, hey, we need to Tyreek Hill. All right, let's go ahead and turn that salary that he has this year. Let's go ahead and turn that into a signing bonus so we can bring the cap down. We got Byron Jones, who's on 13. We don't know. We may trade him or cut him after June 1st. Kasicki was 12, 11, 13 million account against the cap. Going to let him go. He's not coming back. So I've just freed up how much money? You know what I mean? About $20-30 million right there just freed up off the top.
All right, GM. Let everybody know how they can find you.
They can find me on Twitter at Lorenzo Thomas or at on IG at Lorenzo Ice T. That's Lorenzo ICETEA. Of course, you can hear me Monday through Friday on Star 94.5, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. from Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. and on Hot 105 in Miami Saturday nights from 6 to 10 p.m. And let them know where they can find you, baby.
And they can find me at Dirty South FFL on Twitter. Catch me on 100 Hip Hop and R&B FM nightly.
Yeah, you sound great, man. You sound great over there, man. Really good.
You can catch me weekly as well as on the weekends too. And don't forget to check us out each and every Monday as we talk about fantasy football and real football, like we've been talking about now.
Right. We got to plug the Thursday show too, man.
Hey, man, we'll talk about that in a second. We've got. Don't worry. We'll talk about the championship next week. Who's actually going to the Super Bowl? That's what we talk about. And Lorenzo and I are actually, like Lo said, every Thursday, 8:00. We're going to have a time with some of the people that we know in the music and entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. The show is called Shooting the Breeze, Conversations with the DJ.
Nice.
We get a chance to talk to a whole lot of folks in the industry, share our time in the industry, some interviews, things of that nature. Our first interview this week archived interview will be with before he was the baby boy.
Mm-hmm.
Before he was, matter of fact, hey, I think we could pull this off without having any of the audio. That should be fun. Let's pull that up real quick.
Oh, you gonna put it on?
I'll pull it up real quick. Before he was baby boy, before he was transforming, before he was fast and furious. We're talking about Tyrese. He's
before he was breakdown and crying on social media.
Oh yeah, way before that. We're talking. I think. Actually, I think because you are on and I've got you potted up, it would actually play him. But we could play a little bit of it. So it ain't gonna take too much time. Where'd you go? Tyree. Oh, you know what? Hold on for a sec. Here we go. Had to pull it up in the computer. Video files. There we go. Shooting the breeze. So yeah, we're going to do this each and every Thursday where we get an opportunity to talk to some folks that we've known from our past. Check this out.
Welcome back to The Connection. Yours truly, Eric Lee, in the place to be. And as I said, we've got guests in the studio today talking about Tyrese in the place to be. What up, what up, what up?
Man. man.
Well, you've been on like a monster promotional tour, right?
Yeah, it's been a good run.
It's been a good run?
Yes.
You sound like it's been a long time out there, man. How long you been out there on the street now?
Well, the promo tour, it's been about 4 to 5 months.
So we're gonna talk about we're gonna pull Tyrese up. We got some interviews with Aaliyah. We got some interviews with Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, Beyonce. We got a lot of interviews.
Yeah, a lot of classic interviews, a lot of classic stuff.
Yeah,
content on top of content. You know what I mean? So
it should be fun. It should be fun. So definitely check us out this Thursday. It's called Shooting the Breeze Conversations with the DJ. 8 p.m. We'll be right here on the Miami Sports Music Network, so you don't have a problem trying to find us.
That's right. That's
yes.
right.
Now, Lo, any other thoughts before we break out of here, brother?
Nah, man, that's about it, man.
Okay, time to make it legal then.